Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Friday, September 20th. Normally, we're just a couple sleeps away from the Jaguars taking on their opponent, Sunday football, but the Jaguars are playing on Monday night this week. Jaguars at Bills, Monday Night Football. It's a big matchup. The Jaguars, they kind of fell apart down the stretch last year, as we all know, but the NFL still rewarded them with a couple of really big primetime matchups. Beyond their London games, they've got Monday Night Football, they've got Sunday Night Football. This is the first big one, and the Jaguars have talked about it this week. It's kind of a benchmark game. It's a game that everybody's fired up for. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, they're 2-0 with the Jaguars against the Bills, and Josh Allen's Bills are 1-2 against the Jaguars. McDermott, Bills head coach Sean McDermott's 1-3 against the Jags. So, past history, it's favored the Jaguars recently, but the Bills this year, they are 2-0. Impressive victories over the Dolphins and the Cardinals. Cardinals surprising a lot of folks in 2024. That offense does not surprise me one bit, but that's a topic for another day. The Jaguars, unlike the Bills, they are 0-2. Two games that they could have and probably should have won, but they did not. They led the Dolphins pretty much the whole way until the end of that football game. They had many opportunities against the Browns that they did not take advantage of. Ended up losing that game at home by 5. So, is this a good contest? Good matchup between the Jaguars and the Bills? We're going to find out here today. So let's dive into each side of the ball. Take a look at special teams as well. I want to start with the Jaguars defense versus the Bills offense. The Bills, they've been running it quite a bit, and they've been running it pretty darn effectively, especially with James Cook, Dalvin Cook's younger brother. Played at Georgia, been with the Bills a few years now. He is a really fast, really explosive running back, and elusive, perfect for this offense. Then you've got his complement, Ray Davis, who the the Bills drafted this year out of Kentucky, and Ray Davis he's got a little bit of elusiveness and quickness to him, but he's more of a power back, and it's a little thunder and lightning situation there for them. James Cook, certainly the feature back, but Ray Davis, when they really get the ground game going, they're going to have both of those guys out there rotating in and out. A lot of the running last week was really kind of game script against Miami. They got up early. They clearly wanted to run the ball, but this is a team that wants to, ever since they switched coordinators right in the middle of last year, moved on from Ken Dorsey. They've been more run heavy than they were in the past, and they've run the ball better. They have a strong offensive line. Have a guy named Osiris Torrance in the middle there at guard. A lot of folks in Duval wanted to see in black and teal, including myself. Didn't end up happening, but he's playing good football for them. They've got, good tackle play. It's just a solid unit. Even though Mitch Morse isn't there anymore, they're still playing good football. Now, the Jaguars defense, when you look at the run game, they're only allowing 3.8 yards per carry, getting the job done against the run for the most part. So that's a strong matchup. I think between Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker setting the edge, Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun flying around the field playing good football in this new-look Jaguars defense, the running game is going to be an interesting matchup. Who can win that between the Bills offense and the Jaguars defense? The Bills rushing attack, though, too, it has some variety to it. So they'll test you in different ways. That's going to be something where the Jaguars just have to be mentally ready for the looks they're going to see. Passing the ball, obviously Josh Allen, unbelievable football player. Second best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, by a pretty wide margin. What makes this so interesting is, when you look at how the matchup last year between the Jaguars and the Bills in London, when you look at how Josh Allen picked up yards through the air last year, it was his outside receivers. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis both had over 100 yards in that game. Both of those guys not with the Bills anymore. So the passing attack has changed quite a bit. And it started changing last year. They stopped throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs as much down the stretch with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator. Started really hitting Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid a ton. And those are still their two main targets. They did draft Keon Coleman on the outside. They have Matt Collins, who's a veteran. Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well, but those are not the main targets. The main targets are Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, who operate out of the slot, middle of the field a lot, intermediate areas of the field. So the Jaguars' middle and intermediate coverages are going to be critical and the Jaguars play primarily in man coverage. Jarian Jones, hopefully Darnell Savage, who missed last week with the quad. Your two safeties, Andre Sisco and Antonio Johnson, they're going to be critical in the passing game. So I think it is a great matchup on that side of the ball. I think you've got good coordinators, good talent on both sides. So I really am excited to see how that plays out. I think the Jaguars defense is going to provide competent play against pretty much every opponent. So I think they've done that so far. Have they been perfect? No. But that's definitely the side of the ball I'm more excited to watch. I'm more confident in that side of the ball for the Jaguars, but also the Bills' offense is fantastic. So it'll be fascinating. I did want to tell you all about Underdog Fantasy. That's where I play daily fantasy and pick 'em. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. You can sign up with promo code DuvalDaily, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick 'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code DuvalDaily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy Football for sponsoring the show. So the other side of the ball. This is where the Bills look like they have the major advantage, in my opinion, not necessarily on paper, but based on what you've seen the first couple weeks. And the reason for that is the Jaguars offense cannot get out of their own way through the first two games. Great start in Miami. First almost 3 quarters. But you have the fumble, and then the head coach goes ultra conservative with the ground game, but then also desperate going for it on his own 32. It was just a bizarre set of circumstances and decisions by the Jaguars play callers on offense. You've also got Evan Ingram, unlikely to play in this one of the Jaguars' best receiving weapons. You hope Tank Bigsby can play. He sustained a shoulder injury last week against the Cleveland Browns. He's the type of player that I think can potentially do some damage against a defense that has 2 new starting safeties and backup linebackers in the game. And last week, the Jaguars just started slow on both sides of the ball, but especially offense. It was a little too late. Too little, too late type of situation for the Jaguars. I think if that game had like another quarter or maybe another 5 minutes, the Jaguars probably would have won it. But yeah, offensively for the Jags, pre-snap penalties, missed throws, missed reads, drops, poor offensive line execution and communication, clunky play calling and play sequencing. They've got a lot to clean up. And the Jaguars are kind of in the midst of an offensive transformation. They've been trying to go more under center, more play action, more vertical strike passing offense. And everyone in adjusting to this is having some ups and downs, especially the offensive line, who I think most of the guys that have been here are much more used to getting the ball out really quickly, being one of the fastest time to throw teams in the NFL. And when you're going from that to vertical strike play action, you've got to protect just a little bit longer. And there's been some struggles with that, especially at the tackle position. Now, the Bills defense, one of the more what you see is what you get units in the league with Sean McDermott coaching it up. A lot of cover 2, a lot of cover 3, 2 high shells, not a ton of man coverage, not a ton of blitzing either. So this is the type of defense Trevor Lawrence has had some success against in the past. Their defensive front, though, it's playing very well, and that has a chance to really tip the scales in their favor. Von Miller, Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, they've got some depth as well. You know, AJ Epinesa was absolutely crushing the Jaguars in London last year. With the linebackers, it's really interesting because, as I mentioned, they've got 2 of their starters out. Matt Milano, probably the leader of this defense, and then Terrell Bernard as well. So you've got Dorian Williams and Balin Spector. The Jaguars have got to figure out how to, kind of exploit that area. They'll also be without Teron Johnson in the slot, another one of their best defensive players. Jamarcus Ingram and Cam Lewis were out there in that role. They played decent last week, so certainly something to keep in mind. You've got new starting safeties in Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin. Obviously, your vets that were back there for a long time have moved on. At cornerback, outside corner, Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas are both playing very well, in my opinion. So the Jaguars, they need to dial up those zone beaters. They need to get Brian Thomas Jr. more involved. And most importantly, they've got to stop beating themselves and continue to find balance. Looking at the special teams real quick, Cam Little, he missed a kick last week he should have made. It was inclement weather, certainly, but he needs to be more clutch in this game. For the Bills, their kicker, Tyler Bass, he's not been very good. 2023 and early on in 2024 here. So we'll see with those two guys who, if one of them is able to kind of help their football team get a W in this game if it ends up mattering. Logan Cook, he's a great punter. Sam Martin is a decent punter for the Bills. So we'll see how it ends up playing out on special teams. I do think this is a good matchup. But in order for it to end up being that, the Jaguars offense, again, has to just get out of their own way a little bit more than they have, especially against the Cleveland Browns. It's a big contest for the Jaguars. Is it a must-win? I think it's pretty darn close to it. As much as a week 3 game can be must win, it is for the Jaguars because it's a big stage against a big team. You're 0-2. You've got the Houston Texans in Houston the next week. You need to build some confidence. There's no question about that. And you need to get a win in the win column so you don't fall too far behind in the AFC playoff race. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear, become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one.